Aine kinechur kepr Joseph. Kinsu Kaku. We out here. Out here in the sun. Getting it done. Getting it done. For my melanated folks, these are very important times. Shout out to Big Rock Farms. Shout out to Big Rock. These are very important times. Shout out to Big Rock. These are very important times to get out in nature, in nature, as we would say it back in ancient Kemet, nature, in nature, which to most people, they believe that the word nature meant God. Some people pronounce it netter. That's cool too, but that's not technically how it's pronounced. It's pronounced nature. A capital T in ancient Egyptian makes a ch sound. So it's Netcher. So the Netcheru back in the day represented what was natural. You see what I'm saying? What was natural. So when people make the mistake, the common mistake, which, you know, again, if you don't understand, if you can't read hieroglyphs, it's not a hard mistake to make. But they make the mistake of believing that in ancient Egypt they believed or worshipped gods. They actually did not. That's why the term analogy for the god was the word necher, which again means nature or what's natural. So they were talking about functions within nature or functions within your body. They weren't talking about actual deities or something on the outside that was judging them, or they didn't believe in anything of that nature. Everything was always from within, because everything shall always stay within. The thing that's talking to you guys right now is from the within, even though I'm speaking outwardly. You know, I may be speaking outwardly. It is what is within that is what's speaking, and what is receiving the audio frequency is that of yourself, which is without, right? Your ears is listening to it, but what's within is what's actually getting the true essence of any information that may resonate. That's the law of correspondence. Get with it or get left. You know, I think a lot of people, that's what they do. They get left. So it's always important in the sunrise as well as the sunset to get your feet in the ground and stargaze. Stargaze. Sun gazing is stargazing technically. If you have brown eyes, then you can look directly at the sun. That is okay. If you have green eyes, you may want to squint. If you have blue eyes, you may want to look. If it's the sunrise, I mean, you may want to do your own research, technically, because according to what I've heard, you can technically look at the sunrise and the sunset. What I would still suggest is look at, like, for example, see where the sun is right here? I'd look at this palm tree if I were you, or I'd focus on that utility pole. And by just looking at the utility pole, you would still, through the peripheral, be intaking the sun rays if a person has blue eyes. And the reason I'm suggesting it in that way, because blue eyes does not absorb light, it refracts light. Just like blonde hair and just like white skin, they refract light. They do not absorb light. So therefore, a person with brown hair, brown eyes, and brown skin or black skin or black eyes and black hair would be able to look at the sun at all times of the day, simply because that's what your eyes are supposed to do. Your eumelanin eats UV rays and gamma rays. So therefore, your skin itself, your eye color, the hair color, everything about you is foreign. Everything about you predates this universe, simply because what fuels the things of your genetic makeup does not belong to this universe. You see, and that's the key on why the oppression is happening to people of color. Is because technically our genetic makeup doesn't even belong here. We help create this. Now here's the problem: we have the most because we are the most genetically advanced, we're also the most genetically vulnerable, because melanin binds itself to any chemical you actually put into your body, or any chemical response that happens within the body. So if you have a bad memory, which because of synaptic nerve firing off, and then you actually having a memory, people that's in my class, they know this. G-Thang knows this. This is the first thing I talk about in class, how memories work. It's a chemical response. So basically, if you have a bad memory that makes you fear something, just by you having that memory, you just had a chemical response where the melanin will now bind itself to that chemical response for at least the next 2 to 3 days. And then it will produce melanin with fear in it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, people don't understand, in my mind, people don't understand truly how the body works. You know, and then you have a group of people that are basically, is basically trying to make it where we all equate to each other and say, oh, we're all human, oh, we're all equal, it doesn't matter what color you are, blah, 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 which is pretty much ways to make your subconscious mind remove itself from, well, not really the subconscious mind, more like the conscious mind or the ego, give itself a reasoning behind removing itself from whatever trauma it's experiencing at that time. But guess what happens on the subconscious mind? You still get the same exact feeling. And how I know grounding works something crazy, my feet are tingling like a mug. Like literally, since I put it on the actual cement, it felt like, you know how like your feet, your like if a person takes a balloon and rubs it on their head and then put it like close to your skin, and you get that the shock tingling feeling, like that's how it felt as soon as I put my feet on the actual concrete. So that's how I know my electromagnetics is kicking on in. Anyway, but how it goes down is basically you have this, we all have these systems and programs running within the subconscious mind, and if you do not reprogram them, then you will continuously program them with stuff that's still the same format. So let me break this down to you. And we talk about this in my class as well. If you don't actually go into the subconscious mind and remove the source data of what you made it to believe, then every time you program your mind with information, you are only going to give the information to the subconscious, which will then put the same program on, but with a different name. So it's like, soon as people hear Horus and Set, they think Jesus and Satan. They think good and evil. They see Apep, they say, oh, that's the serpent, that's chaos. Oh no, that's against order, that's against Ma'at. The 42 laws of Ma'at is the judgment scene, which reminds me of Revelation. So it's literally like you just went and took all the stuff from ancient Egypt took everything from ancient Egypt and then just applied it took everything from Christianity and then just applied it to ancient Egypt. Smoke break. And then just applied it to exactly. Pablo read my mind straight up. I had to smoke break to that one. They will reprogram their mind with the exact same information, even though it'll be a completely different mythology. It's like, and that's why I provide in my class a library to resources, because it's like, you're not going to learn much from me. not that you're not going to learn much from me. You're not going to learn much from my experiences. You know what I'm saying? Because my experiences will only give you a practical manner on how to apply it to your experience. Smoke break. Like, that's one thing I don't like. I don't like teachers. First of all, I don't like people who consider themselves teachers and the people in their class students. Because that's, again, goes back to subconscious mind and programming. Those people are programmed with the fact that they were a student at one time. You see what I'm saying? In training, which was education. And now that they have a little bit of knowledge and they can educate, you see what I'm saying? Which it comes from the word edukari. Edukari means to draw out, which means that you help people draw out the information of practicality of something that's within themselves. Edukari. You see what I'm saying? Not teaching them the ways you've learned. That's a whole different ball game. So when you have people that's talking about the students and I'm teaching and blah blah blah, like this girl, I'm not gonna say her name because she's a good person, very good person. But I'm getting a phone call in 1 second. All right, sorry y'all. Got a phone call. Anyway, so what was I saying? The people that come with this teacher-student concept or this teacher-student mindset, they don't actually, and this is just from my experience, when you approach knowledge, when you approach spirituality, when you approach growth, when you approach practicality, especially magic, when you approach these things with the concept of, oh, I'm a teacher and oh, you're a student, you're already messing up. And I'm going to tell you how. The reason you're messing up is because every time that knowledge may present itself for you to learn as the teacher, because you have the subconscious mind programmed with the archetype of being the teacher, will overlook the learning experience. And if the person always has the mindset of being the student, you see what I'm saying? If their subconscious mind is always programmed with the archetype of the student, then they will always be in a studious mindset. They will never actually reach the mindset of the Godhead. They will never reach the mindset of the mage. They will never reach the mindset of the master. It's like watching the movie The Last Dragon. If you ever seen the movie The Last Dragon, it was like a black concept of Enter the Dragon. But this dude, Bruce Leroy, spends his entire career, like his entire master karate career, whooping everybody's ass and being put in these random positions of where he has to always defend himself and show that he's the most talented fighter in the city. But his whole time, he's looking for the master. Looking for the master. And then finally he meets the master. And the master just tells him, well, the only reason I became a master is because I found the master within. See what I'm saying? So it's like everyone's looking for God. But they don't realize that what they're looking for is something that exists within, that always existed within. Because technically, imagine somebody never told you about God, then how would you know? You see, if you never read the word Jesus, how would you know? If that mythology had never been written down, then you wouldn't even have a concept of those things. So therefore, the fact that somebody had to actually, explain it to you means that it's not as real as you think it may be. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody has to explain something to you and then you spend your entire life never questioning it, then it's probably because it's not something worth actually knowing. Because it may frighten you, and that's what happens. Like if you read the living teachings of Yeshua, he completely explains that what you think about me is not what's going to be written about me. What you know about me. He was talking to his disciples, his brother, and all of them. He said, what y'all know about me is not what's going to be written. And that's what's always the truth. And you can look about that in every single way. Everybody that you physically know, that you've known your entire life, are the ones that will judge you simply because they're the only ones that know where you came from. So no matter how great you become, there'll always be some type of either resentment or like appreciation. So it's kind of like if someone got their child into music school when they was a kid, and then that person becomes Pharrell. You know what I'm saying? Pharrell's mom and dad is like, I'm happy I made that choice to get him into music school, to work my butt off no matter what, to make sure I was able to pay the bills for this kid to go to music school, and look at how it paid off. You see what I'm saying? Just by that's ego. Because you just made that kid a product. You don't realize it, but that's what we do. Because we have went through so much oppression that we now make our children products of us. So it's like they become a byproduct of you. So it's basically like if they succeed, they succeeded because of the success of what you brought forth, or what you didn't bring. If you look at it like a person like Eminem, or if they fail, it's because what you did do or what you didn't do. When in reality, it has nothing to do with you at all. It's the kid. You see what I'm saying? But because we try to make it's a backwards mindset. If you read all the ancient cultures, they focused on the child first, and then the child determined the parent, because the child is what made the parent a parent. You can't become a parent if you don't have a child. That's just not how things work. That's not how things work. You have to have it's like, how could Father God be Father God until he had a son? Which, if you actually read the Gospel of Truth, the Gospel of Truth. It's the Gospel of Truth. I was gonna say the Gospel of Peter, but it's the Gospel of Truth. If you read the Gospel of Truth, he says that the Father and the Son are the same thing. But then when you actually understand what they're talking about, they're basically saying that your physical body and that which is your soul or your mind is actually the deity that you're looking for. It's the one that runs stuff. Because think about it. If I went around, imagine everybody that knows me, they know me, right? But imagine I go around from today on and I told everybody that didn't know me that I'm blind. And I walk with a stick and I wear sunglasses. You know what I'm saying? Like I go apply at a job and I'm acting blind. I'm like, just like going around doing my thing like I'm partly blind. I'm like always like, you know what I'm saying? And then I become like this big musician that's like, it's like, man, did you know he's blind? Like, and like everybody that visited, if someday like something happens where my glasses fall off, and people that know me and be like, no, I know him. He ain't blind. He can see. Imagine that happens, right? Imagine that were to happen. Then basically, what it is That's how the subconscious mind works. Because I believe that, I may try this. Yes, you're right. um, um, because how the subconscious mind works, if I actually believed that and went along with that, then because I believed it so much, it would literally create a reality where everybody around me would then believe it. Because it's like the concept of faking it till you make it. That's that's a magic concept. That is completely magic. That has nothing to do. Like I tell people all the time, you want to learn magic, be around. Look at Tekashi 6ix9ine. You want to learn magic, be around somebody who could like fake an entire scenario or react. Go watch Whose Line Is It Anyway. You know what I'm saying? Go watch like Freestyle Fridays or Freestyle Battles. That's magic. You want to learn magic, you gotta be around somebody who can create an entire scenario out of anything at any time and then be believable. That's magic. Because that's what you need to do to visualize within your subconscious mind to turn it on. Smoke break on that. Smoke break on that. Hold on. Smoke break. Hold on. Smoke break. Smoke break on that. Smoke break on that. Who told me they couldn't see me? That was Eddie, wasn't it? I knew. See, Eddie, the only person that would say some shit like that is Eddie. We can't see you. Nigga, who cares? The only one that do want to see me is your ass, punk ass. Eddie, my dog. So don't nobody take what I'm saying to heart about my boy Eddie. But Eddie, you know, I ain't gonna say too much about cousin Eddie. I got love for cousin Eddie, but Eddie the only nigga that would care to see me. I know the girls probably like, oh, we can't see him, but you know. But Eddie's really like, we can't see you. Oh man. But yeah, so they after me, y'all. I gotta hang up. No, I'm joking. This is what I'm talking about. This is the magic, you guys. This is magic at its finest. Being able to tap into the inner child at every moment, at every time. And it really comes down to what it really comes down to in my mind is understanding that the only wrong way to do it is not having confidence, being shaky in your confidence, or another wrong way to do magic. Another completely wrong way to do magic is having too much confidence. You know what I'm saying? Having too much confidence. So you always have to find this balance, and that's the most inner key to understanding what's going to keep you safe in this spiritual war. Because that's what it really comes down to. This is spiritual warfare. People don't know it. You may not understand you're in it, but you are. If you're listening to my channel, you're in it. If you're listening to my channel, you're in it. And it's not because I brought you in it. It's because your mind has already been initiated within that realm. You see, you incarnated for this. The question is, are you ready? You know, are you ready? That's what it comes down to. You incarnated for this. You incarnated to sign up for the spiritual war. You incarnated and signed up for everything, but are you ready? Because they are about to light y'all ass up. That's why all this stuff is happening like that in the news. Meteors hitting places. Like, this is not stuff. Like, they got the picture of the black hole. Everybody in my class that has seen the video of the fireball I made in the sky, once you put the picture of that black hole that they got from that new telescope side by side with the video of me making a fireball, they're the same thing. which it goes back to what I said. When you illuminate your soul, which is a black hole, it becomes a star or a quasar. You see, so I've been talking about this and been explaining this for a long time. But see, that's the whole point. The crypt thing go lines up with the whole thing. It's like, for example, me being born into the GD, which is the 6-pointed star, which goes back to being the Merkabah. You see, it itself is an initiation into the star, into the soul. It's like the Roots had a song called "Everybody Is a Star." That shit is for real. Everybody is a star. Everybody wants to shine. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's your time, but you have to step into it. Like, and that's the scary part, because especially right now, and this is something I'm going to tell everyone. Especially, there's people in my class in here. There's people in my class in here that will attest to this. As soon as you start to step into that power, everything around you changes, and it changes to the point where it's pretty much like a counterproductive move. They call it the dark night of the soul. Like, so if you ever want to look into this process, a lot of people describe it as the dark night of the soul, which is, from what I've experienced, most people don't understand the dark night of the soul, because it's not this one and done thing. It's never finished. The dark night of the soul is your life after the entire awakening process. Like, that's the problem. You come across, again, this comes with, like I was just saying, people taking on these archetypes, which is just ego. Anytime you create an archetype or use an archetype, you are dealing with the ego. That's why people know that in my class, I never say I'm their teacher. I don't even allow them to say they're my students. Like, they have to, they apologize when saying it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's a humbling thing for both sides of the game. But I always explain that if I take on that archetype of being the teacher, then therefore I cannot learn from you. And shit, everybody in my class knows I learn a lot from them as well. So once you have the mindset of you are the student of your own experience, that's the only thing you're studious of, then you can actually be the master. You see, because the only thing you're mastering is that which you experience. You're not trying to master something that's on the outside. You're not trying to master something that somebody else is teaching you or has taught you or has whatever. G thing showing up, gang, you know what it is. Yeah, we learn from each other. Like G thing, I'll give a prime example. I had this trick question for her in a quiz, and her answer was like something that I taught her, but then I completely forgot that would be the way that I would have had to apply the answer that I had to the question. So so it was like, the question itself was, how many zodiac signs is there? Now, I'm expecting her to say 13. She says 24. And then I'm like, wait, what? But then I'm like, oh, I got it. Because I had to explain to her that anytime you're dealing with one side of something, you need to also deal with the opposite. So how there's 12 zodiac signs, those 12 zodiac signs are on the tree of life as well as the tree of death. So that would mean you would have to apply that to daytime and nighttime. So when she said 24, and then she was like, no, my bad, 26. And it was like, oh, because you're going 13 for the day and then 13 for the night. And I was like, yep. and just off of that, I was like, but then it applied to 28 because I was like, you always need to have one side observing one energy and one side observing the other, which would make it 28, which would then line up with a moon cycle. So just in that whole me having a quiz question, making it a trick question, and me getting her response, I was able to learn something from her. And we both learned something at the same time that once I actually started to do the math, it does relay exactly how they would have laid it down in Egypt. Because even though they would have been using 24 in that moment in time, they would have had two observers for each side of the day. So it would have been 2 in the daytime and 2 at night, making it 28 instead of 1 during the daytime and 1 at night. And the reason they can do that now is because Ophiuchus, which is the 13th sign, is an androgynous being. It's a man and a woman in one body. So that automatically there goes your 2 right there. And then you can still have the 2 observers on the outside, which is usually Isis and Neptet, or Aset and Neptet. And for those that don't know anything about what the fuck I'm talking about, I'm sorry I may have dropped a lot of just information right now randomly. But for those that are in the class and on the path, then you understand how those things can be used in a magical setting. So yeah, feet in the ground are very important. Doesn't matter if it's concrete. Grass is best, obviously, but it matters where you're at. Here in California, a lot of people, they have fake grass, so it's like, well, shit, what's the point? Well, I do a reading on that, actually, Pablo. It's called the Godhead reading. And how I do it, I use Chaldean, or Chaldean, however you pronounce it, Chaldean numerology. And there's I got a lot of resources, where I was able to, pull through numerology what certain deities flow through certain numbers. So I use the life path, the gift number, the expression number, and the soul urge number in those readings to be able to pull in the energies. And then also usually I'll do a natal chart reading, a sidereal natal chart reading at the same time, to really be able to capture that energy and the essence of it. Sometimes it's in the name, like my name itself, like my birth name is an actual ancient Egyptian deity who was originally a pharaoh who deified himself. so it literally, and then my name didn't exist prior to that. And then once I started to go deeper, there's plenty like different variations of how my name could be said and all of them are deities. So sometimes you have these things that's in your name, you know what I'm saying, that you don't even realize is really the actual deity itself coming through. Yes, they do, Star Gypsy. Yeah, they do have different names. Because the name is the reason why names are important is because the name in Egypt, basically your name was actually a description of what you were or what you did. It wasn't an actual name. So like a person named, let's say a girl's name Kimberly or something like that, right? You meet a girl named Kimberly. Then Kimberly, her name literally means black girl. Or the black one. Or the one who doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be one of the, like that's what her name would be. If you meet a person's name, their name is An-a-F. Like the person's name is An-a-F. Then that means he who brings his arm in ancient Egyptian. You know what I'm saying? He who carries the arm or he who brings the weaponry. You know what I'm saying? it was always some type of description. So when it comes down to that, then basically it allows people to the angels of light also have the demons of darkness, and they're literally the same things, because the demons predated the angels. Like basically when the demons fell into the demonic realm, it left a space for the angels to exist, which really only became a reflection of what the demon was originally. It just was a space filler. It's like a stepmom. It's like a stepmom who like she becomes your stepmom when you're like grown, or like not grown, like when you're like a teenager. You know what I mean? So she spends her entire like parenting in trying to understand the child and be the mom that the mom was prior. You know what I'm saying? But also still be herself. It's like this. It's like a usurping type feeling. It's like you're just feeling it. It's like temporary. You know, like I worked at a job where I was a temp. You know, and then when the girl came back, they let me go. You know, and I didn't even know she came back. So that's pretty much what those things are like. They have different names, they have different appearances, they have different functions. And the thing is this is how the demonic realm works. It's like a tree. This is what the angel realm would be. Right? Where's the roots? Oh yeah, in the ground. But you can't see it. The grass, you don't see the roots. This represents the unseen realm. That's what the demonic realm or the tree of death represents. The foundation or the unseen of all that is which seen. It's like, where's the foundation to this building at? Where's the foundation to the ground? Where's the foundation, you know, to all these things? That's what the underworld represents. The inner world. The one that you have to enter. You know, the inner world. But what do I know? I don't know much. Joe Budden used to have an intro on his mixtape. I think it was Mood Music. I think maybe Mood Music 2 or something. Where he's like, I don't do much. I don't know much. That's how I feel. I don't do much. I don't know much. Just in case the feds ever come knocking. In case the Illuminati ever come. I don't know anything. That's the first thing I say. I have no idea. That's why I tell people, don't let them come invite you nowhere. Don't ever be like, hey, come join. You want to come join the Golden Dawn? No, I don't. I don't even know what the fuck that is. You know, Aleister Crowley, Thelema, Magic. Hint, hint. No, I don't, actually. You mean like Steve, like Chris Haynes Magic? Like David Blaine? Houdini? That type of magic? No. 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 Not that type of magic. We're talking like, you know, Goetia, Kabbalah, you know, sorcery, Satanism. No, I wouldn't dare. That's how you keep safe. That's how you CYA, cover your ass. That is how you CYA. You cover your ass. Anytime somebody asks you about some stuff and they seem too much like, first off, if you're me, and I'm just being honest, if you're me, and a white person coming to you and say that, then definitely cover your ass. And what I'm saying about me, I'm not the average person that you would think practices magic. I'm not the average person. If you just looked at me by like just look, you would not think I know half the things I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you have that type of concept, then basically you just gotta, you know, keep always stay on the low with it. But if you out here dressed like half these cats with the dashikis on and they got something on their third eye, they have like these colorful things on with the flowers of life and the pattern of life. They got the tree of life chakra system all on their shirt and t-shirt, and they got the heart chakra. Like once you start getting into that and you start accessorizing the body, you see what I'm saying? Now hear me out on this. Not using accessories as tools to ritualize the mind. You are using accessories as tools to accessorize the body. That is ego. That is ego. If you got into consciousness and your dressing changed, that's ego. That's ego. I don't care how, and that this may be offensive, it may not. But I feel that if a person got into consciousness and the way they dress changed, then they're tapped into the ego. You see? Now, if they're using the way they dress to create change, that's a different ball game. So if today's Tuesday, okay? So if you're wearing red on Tuesday, then you're tapping in to the energy of Tuesday, which is the god Thewas or Tyr, which is also my middle name, Tyr, which means the black man, which was a war god for Mars. Which is you use in Kabbalah, you could use Geburah, that's also red. You see what I'm saying? So if you're wearing red today, and you got some red chakra stuff on, then okay, cool. You be good with that because you're using then you're using it as a tool to ritualize the mind, because the mind is the one who decided to pick out the symbology. You know what I'm saying? But if you're just wearing, clothing, like, no offense, and this is nothing against a dear friend of mine, people who know me and know her, know our connection to each other. But my very close friend of mine, she has this clothing line, beautiful clothing line called Nama Slay. And a lot of models, a lot of people that get the clothing line are actually Caucasian. Spiritual people, but they're Caucasian. Then you go on their page and they're like, "Oh, I'm a certified Reiki teacher, certified yoga, blah blah blah, certified blah blah blah." So it's basically, when you understand that, first of all, the fact they were certified itself is ego, because how do you certify somebody's healing besides results? It takes much more than 200 hours or whatever amount of hours to produce real results. And then the fact that the healing, Reiki healing, is done from an outside perspective, which means that they don't teach you how to heal yourself. They're healing you for you. That means that technically you're not healed at all, because the source of the dis-ease is thoughts, is thought forms and patterns. So if you have not cleared the thought form or pattern, it don't matter how much I heal you, you're going to bring it back. As soon as you bring back that thought form and that pattern, you're just going to bring back the exact same thing that gave you the disease in the first place. So these concepts, yeah, they're cool, they're cute, you know what I'm saying? Like they sound good to the person who doesn't understand how things work, but everything starts in your mind. So that's why people that take my class, they know. The first thing I say is, here's the resource. You know, I can offer you things that I know have worked for me, and ways that you can apply it to the person, especially more the deeper we get into class and I get to know the person. It's like I can see ways they can use stuff. Like me and G Thang, for example. G Thang, like, we have a way where I can understand, like, she understands cartoons that I like, you know, and cartoons that she like, and ones that we have in common. So when she changed her Skype avatar, and I hope I'm not putting you on blast, G Thang. She changed her Skype avatar to Eevee. Eevee in Pokemon. And now Eevee in Pokemon, and the crazy thing was the week before, her homework for class was to watch V for Vendetta. The female protagonist in the movie is named Eevee, and they named her that because it was a representation of Eve, okay, which is a representation of the evening. Okay, now, where was I going with that? Oh, so she changed it to Eevee. Now Eevee is like the Pokemon of transformations. So Eevee is the Pokemon of transformations, and she can transform into all these different versions of elements and chemicals and all different types of stuff like that. So it's like just seeing, and then which also applies to the movie V for Vendetta. So when you kind of see these things, that's the result. She didn't have to say, oh, this is how I'm applying magic, Kensu. Like, no, I can see how she's applying magic because I know how I apply it. So when I saw how she applied it with the subconscious mind using the symbol, I knew that what I was showing her and the research she was doing and then experience she was having for herself was showing her how to apply it. That's results. You see what I'm saying? And there's nothing that somebody could do to certify that. That's not certification. That's not certifiable. And that's not even a word. You know? But there are certain ways where you can see when the work is paying off. And it all starts with the mind. So that's why it's very important, like I said, to do these things, then understand how these things work within the body, understand how you can apply things to like that to the body. You know, like get out there and get your grounding on. Try to stay away from television unless it's something that's going to spark your creative mindset. You know, try to stay away from people that you can't learn nothing from. Like I always say, that you are the product of the 5 people closest to you that you can learn something from. You know, so, and they don't need to be closest to you, but like think about the 5 people that you if you was like, I need to hear some real stuff, who do you rely on? Think about the 5 people you pull up. And since we're talking about, you know, this day and age, it could be Instagram, it could be YouTube, so it could be, you know, anybody. Your mindset becomes the product of that. So good books I would suggest for people, if you haven't read these, The Kabbalion by the Three Initiates. What else? Kundalini and the Depths. Kundalini and the Depths. I have these if you need them. Now all this stuff is beginner stuff. Not like beginner stuff, but like foundational stuff. The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I forgot who that's by. The Holographic Universe by David Talbert. And if I can give y'all one more, the Gnostic Bible. The Gnostic Bible. I'd recommend those. Well, see that, yeah. I mean, that's part of the battle that is part of your game plan, Pablo. That's what it was like. I was in school knowing a lot, and it was like I didn't even realize how much I knew until after I got out of school. And it was like, and then it was like life started to come, and it's like you get put in different positions where it's like the things that you knew in school that you really didn't even know how to apply at that time. And it's not that you didn't know how to apply it. You couldn't apply it. You know, the fact you got to be at school for 8 hours a day, you know, makes it where it wasn't able to even be applied. So it becomes like this dormant knowledge that just sits in the synaptic nerves and waits until there's a moment in time for it to arise. And that is the serpent. That is Satan. That is the questioner. You see, the opposer, the adversary. Because what people don't understand is it's not that Satan opposes you, or he's the adversary to you, or he's the questioner to you. He opposes natural reaction. He's the adversary to autonomous thoughts, which means that he basically it's called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Yeah, if anybody needs any of those, I have all those. I'll just send you the PDF links from my library, from my class, in case you can't find them. But I do know some people actually like to buy the physical book. But in case you just want the PDF, I'll send it to you from the library. What was I gonna say? The mind is something that a lot of people don't understand how it works. So because it's timeless. It's like the movie Lucy, you know, getting out in the sun and doing these things with sun gazing day and night. Day and night, across time, then minimum mind. But you know, you get out there and you do that work and you ritualize the mindset behind the work you're doing. Then what happens is it starts to activate the dormant parts of the brain. So you know how they say we only use, 10% of the brain, or whatever the case is. You start to activate more until you become like Lucy. Now, the only thing is I don't know I don't want to say possibilities, because anything's possible. Kevin Garnett said that perfect. Anything possible, but not anything's probable. So the probability of a person with blonde hair, blue eyes being able to do that is very slim to none, simply because they don't have enough melanin. So as far as activating 100% of the brain, so what you have to do is you have to like pretty much your magic would have to be so much on point where you would have to always be able to manipulate or substitute other energies. You had to substitute other energies into the mind, into the body, instead of the UV rays and the gamma rays. So how a person with melanin could absorb UV rays and gamma rays, they could be outside during when the sun is in the zenith and not be harmed by it whatsoever. It's actually the best time for them to be outside, which will then start the melanogenesis process and get them quicker to the Lucy stage, right? Whereas if a person with light skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair are out during those times, they're literally being fried by the most cancerous things you could have in your experience. So you would have to be able to find this balance where you can alternate between being out there for a short time, but imagining in your mind that you're out there longer. You see what I'm saying? And that the body is not being harmed through that while you're out there longer, and then substituting it for times when, like the sunset, when you can literally be out there staring down the damn sun. That's how you'd have to balance it in these ways. So when people think that I'm up here just saying like, oh, if you don't have melanin, you're shit out of luck, ha ha ha. Like, no, it's not that. It's that if you don't have melanin and you running on an automated, you think that everybody's equal and you just gonna go out here and do what everybody else is doing, then you're shit out of luck. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna run into things that's not. It's just like melanated people. Like I said earlier, melanin binds itself to every chemical. So every time a person smokes weed, like I'm about to do right now, your melanin will produce melanin with THC in it and CBD in it. So literally 2-3 days later, you have the craving to smoke, and you ain't even thought about smoking. And the reason you have the craving is because the melanin itself is producing the THC with it. So you're actually getting high from something that you got high on 3 days ago. You see what I'm saying? Alcohol the same way. You drink a beer on Sunday, then your melanin will produce it on Tuesday with alcohol in it. So you'll be literally at Taco Tuesday thinking like, you know what? I should have a beer. Because your actual melanin is getting drunk. It's just that you're not physically getting drunk. So now the subconscious mind has told the conscious mind that what's happening in the background isn't happening in the foreground. So now you want to do it and actually have the beer. So again, you know, you got to understand how these powers work and how you got to tap in to what's naturally happening within. That's why every time I smoke, I call on the weed goddesses, Eshemet, and Seshet. Seshet and Eshemet. Every time I drink, I call on whatever deities I'm working with. If I'm working with the elixir, we only got 45 seconds actually, and it's probably gonna end early because I forgot I got a phone call, and then that's just gonna end early. So it's your boy Kensu Keku, Stay Wavy, Star Seeds, 636 Gods. We out.